Hello students, this is Mrs. Jones. Today we have a problem to consider. Um, we're faced with this problem that says consider the square design with diagonal supports to be welded together from steel bars. Calculate the total length of the material needed to the nearest inch. Express your answer in feet and inches. So we've got this square outside, and then we've got these diagonals. So the diagonals actually make these right triangles. Okay, you see all the right triangles? We got big ones and little ones going on in there. If we were to calculate, it's square, so we know that these outside pieces are the same. We know that the diagonals are the same. But how could we find, what mathematical concept do we know maybe a little bit about that could find all these different lengths, given the fact that they are all right triangles in there? Does anybody have an idea? I'm thinking about the Pythagorean theorem. Do you remember the Pythagorean theorem from maybe ascending school? The Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And that is in a right triangle. Here's a right triangle. This diagonal piece is always the c, and then a and b are kind of interchangeable. I put b down here because it makes me think of the base, and a on this side, so that I can think of that as the altitude or the height of that triangle. We can use this Pythagorean theorem on right triangles to find missing sides. So for like in this problem, our unknown value is this c. So if we plug in to our formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and we plug in the get what we know, to solve this, we would do the squared pieces. So 7 squared is 49, and 3 squared is 9. And those are both on the same side of the equation. I like to draw that line down the equal sign when I'm solving equations so that I can know one side versus the other side. And so I'm going to add those together because they're on the same side of the equal sign. I add them together. And the last thing that you always have to do in the Pythagorean theorem is take the square root of both sides. And when you take the square root, that's something that you're going to have to do on the calculator. On my calculator, I have to press second and then the square root key. I put in my number and then I hit equals. And I get 7.651516, depending on where I need to round to. And this would be feet. So the length of that hypotenuse is 7.616 feet long. I'm going to know that that's okay and that's correct because the hypotenuse of a triangle should always be the longest side, and that is longer than the other two sides. So I'm okay with that. All right, let's look at another example. There's a missing side. We write our formula out. The 12 is the C, the 8 is the base, and the altitude is the part we don't know. And again, I like to draw that line down so I can see one side versus the other side. I'm going to square these. 8 squared is 64. 12 squared is 144. And because they're on opposite sides of the equal sign, I'm going to actually subtract the 64. So 144 minus 64 That's 80. And the last thing we always do with the Pythagorean theorem is take the square root. And that means that this x is 8.944. And I'm always going to kind of guess if that seems right or not. I know by the picture that does not seem right, but the picture is obviously not drawn to scale. What we want to question or think about it is this hypotenuse still the longest piece in that triangle? And yes, it is. So we're okay with our answer. Here's a different kind of triangle. And what we might have to do here is draw a line straight down through the middle of our triangle. And just look at one half of it, or one side of it. What that does to the bottom, what that does to the base of 7 feet, is it splits it into two pieces. So this would be 3.5 on the left hand side and 3.5 on the right hand side, but I said, hey, we're just going to look at one side of it for now. So we put our formula down here. So 10, and we go 3.5. Well, it doesn't matter which one I put it in for, actually. Draw my line down through the middle. 10 squared is 100. I got to do 3.5 squared. 12.25. The 100 and the 12.25 are on opposite sides of the equal sign, so we're going to subtract them off of both sides. I get 87.75. And the last thing that you always do is take the square root. And I get 9.367, and this would be feet as my answer. All right? And then we ask ourselves, does that make sense? If we're talking about the height, this distance right here, yes, it still makes sense because 10 is still the longest piece of that triangle. And we want to make sure that the hypotenuse is always the longest side of that triangle. I hope this video helps you understand Pythagorean theorem. There is a Google quiz. I want you to do the Google quiz, answer the questions, make sure you hit submit, make sure you hit turn in the upper right hand corner of the Google assignment. This question right here, I'm going to add as an extra credit assignment. So you will see a third assignment for this week. You do not have to do it, but you can do it for extra credit. All right? Thank you. Have a great day. And if you have any questions, please email me. My email is cjones@ictc.edu. All right? See ya. Bye.